Mixed Blessings is a really interesting episode of The Golden Girls, and I think they handled it really well. This is the 23rd episode of the 3rd season of The Golden Girls. It's directed by Terry Hughes, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. There are quite a few things in this that are rather unpredictable, and I think everything was fascinating, shocking at times, and definitely very thought-provoking. And as I said, I think they handled the topic really well, and I'll talk about that when we get there. It starts off with Blanche and Rose trying to get fit. Sophia's then going off to Epcot. And then Michael visits, Dorothy's son, who's played by Scott Jacoby. And he has some news. He's got a girlfriend. He's getting married. And she's called Lorraine. And she sings with the band. And then he tells her and the other girls who are there that she's black. And there's a kind of hesitation, but then Dorothy says, well, the most important thing is that you love each other, and I think they got over that initial awkwardness really quickly, but it gets even more awkward. Nervous is definitely how Dorothy is feeling, but then Blanche told her, actually, think how nervous Lorraine will be because she's coming to meet the family, and I think that's a really good way of looking at it. If you're nervous, chances are the other person is too. And then there were a couple of moments that I thought were pretty funny, laugh out loud funny. And the first one is when Rose says, can I ask a dumb question? And Dorothy replies, better than anyone I know. Which I liked. The dumb question was, what colour is black people's dandruff? Which, yeah, bit of a dumb question. And Lorraine then arrives. She's played by Rosalind Cash, really likeable character. And immediately, Dorothy sees a problem. Got nothing to do with her skin colour. It's the fact that she's 44 years old. And Michael is in his 20s. And she doesn't think they should get married because she thinks that she's too old for him. And she's not completely out and out nasty about it, but she's definitely not hiding her feelings. And the girls have a conversation about this. Rose tells a story about two dogs, a Schnauzer and a Dalmatian. And they had little Schnaumatians. I actually Googled that, and I only saw one picture. I don't even know if it's genuine or if it's just a mock-up. But that sounds absolutely adorable. I'm not a big fan of crossbreeding with dogs, but as a concept, it sounds very cute. Dorothy and Lorraine then have a conversation, and I have to say it's very well written. And I think they both made some valid points. Lorraine, of course, saying that she loves him, that's all that matters. And Dorothy even admitted that Lorraine was making completely valid points. Everything made sense. But as a mother, she just couldn't let go of the fact that she thought she was too old for her son. And I admire that. I like the fact that Dorothy was saying, you know what, you're right. Everything you're saying is correct. But I can't change how I feel. And I think that was a very interesting way of looking at it. Lorraine's family then come over. And this bit is so awkward because they're obviously black. And as they enter the house, Rose and Blanche come in from, I think, the kitchen with mud packs on. They've basically blacked up. Not intentionally, obviously, but the look of shock on their faces when they realised what they'd walked into and the kind of the awkwardness they'd presented, it was very well done. And Lorraine's mother I think Lorraine's mother is the only one with a really problematic attitude here, because at least Dorothy was willing to admit that actually her attitude was wrong. She just couldn't change how she felt. But Lorraine's mother was not happy that Michael was white. She didn't know until she met him just now. And she said some pretty nasty things about the fact he was white, and basically said that he wasn't good enough for Lorraine just because he was white. And it's horrible to listen to. Imagine if Dorothy said the same things about Lorraine and said she wasn't good enough because she was black. It wouldn't work. People would be outraged. So it's really uncomfortable to hear her talking like that, and it makes her seem like a really nasty, horrible, unlikable character. And to be honest, that didn't change very much. My opinion of her didn't change very much. Sophia comes in, and on the one hand, there is that awkward moment of thinking, oh no, there are many things Sophia could say that would make this even more awkward. But I think that's happened so frequently by this point in the show that we just know that Sophia actually isn't tactless. she very rarely says inappropriate things when it seems like she might. Usually she says inappropriate things when it doesn't seem like she will. So I think that was pretty predictable that she wasn't going to say anything too bad there. And the family leave, and then they come back over. And I don't like this attitude. On the one hand, I appreciate the gesture. They came back over because they realised that they were both working against each other, but actually neither of them, neither Dorothy nor Lorraine's mother, want this marriage to go ahead. So instead of fighting, they should work together to find a way out of the situation and find a way to stop the wedding from happening. And I don't like that attitude. I like that they were, well, putting their differences aside, but their differences are also the same. In the fact that they're both opposing it for different reasons, but they want the same outcome, and they work together on that, and they have cheesecake. And yeah, it's actually a really lovely scene. It's a nice, happy scene with laughter, and it's quite nice to watch. But the idea that they're both working together to separate their children, not a huge fan of that. And then Rose lets slip that while that's happening, Michael and Lorraine are eloping. They're going to the all-night wedding chapel. And needless to say, as soon as Rose lets that slip, everybody rushes to the chapel. And I both like this and don't like this. But I have to remember it's a product of its time. Because they are getting married. And nobody's happy about this. But then Lorraine reveals that she's pregnant. And I don't like the fact that clearly they felt like they had to get married now because she was pregnant. But as I said, absolutely product of its time, so I completely understand that. But watching it now, I don't love that. But I do like the fact that both mothers realise that they want to see this grandchild. So the best thing they can do is just pretend they're okay with it. And they got on with the wedding. And it was a sweet way to end things. This kind of story in the wrong hands could have been really awkward. But the only thing about it I didn't like is Lorraine's mother's disgusting anti-white attitude. It was absolutely horrible. And as I said, had it been the other way on, it would have been outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. So I didn't love that. But everything else I thought was very well handled. And the performances were great. Definitely some nice comedy moments in here as well. So in all, I think this is a pretty strong episode of The Golden Girls. Mixed Blessings has a lot to offer. There are a lot of different opinions. I'd say it's quite an unpredictable episode as well. And honestly, from start to finish, I'd say this is a very strong episode, very well written, great performances, absolutely not the outcome I was expecting either. I don't know quite what I'd predicted, but I didn't expect the baby reveal or for them to have eloped. So definitely a surprise, and ultimately, it's an episode that I think is pretty impressive.